Hello and welcome into another edition of The Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.COM. I'm your host for the proceedings, Jeremy Huber. Our weekly look at high school football in the DMV District, Maryland and Virginia. We do every single bit of it. Remember, want to get in touch with us, do it at The Final Drive by tweeting us at DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. We're going to get into all the scores, get into everything, but first up, we're going to go ahead and check in with a guy whose team had a big win tonight. That would be the head coach of the Wakefield Warriors, Wayne Hogwood. His team kind of putting themselves in the driver's seat in Virginia Conference 13 with a win tonight over Marshall, 33-19. Coach Hogwood joining us on the show. Coach, congratulations on the big win.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
And obviously, you guys win the conference title last year. You really put yourself in good position to do it again with a really good win tonight. Talk about what you guys were able to do against the Statesmen out there to go ahead and get the victory.
Well, we were able to just come out and play solid football. You know, we stayed true to the things we've done all year. We ran the ball well behind a really good offensive line, and we played solid defense as a unit and, you know, tried to make as few mistakes as possible. You know, that's our keys to victory every week, and as long as we keep doing them, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, and one of the things that you have is a nice running back there, and Leon Young, a guy who can do it on the ground and in the air, had a touchdown run, I believe 2 touchdown catches today. Talk about his performance tonight and all year long.
Well, Leon is just a special player. You know, he wants to be successful, and he wants the ball in crunch time, and we give it to him, and the guys up front trust and believe in him, and he does the same in them, and so he's able to put up some big numbers from time to time. He was able to run for, you know, close to 200 yards, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns tonight. And, I would like to tell you that I'm shocked and it was a great game, but that's what I expect out of him. You know, he's been our guy for 3 years ever since I've taken over this program, and he stepped up and played even better as a senior.
And another guy who played well for you tonight was your quarterback, Colt Poitras, had 3 touchdowns, 2 of those going to Young. Talk about what he was able to do for you in this matchup tonight against a tough Marshall team.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know Colton threw 3 touchdowns. But you know what? He's a young guy that the guys have rallied around. He comes in and he carries himself well. He's a good leader, especially being a sophomore. But my favorite part about Colton is you can't shake him. You know, he doesn't get rattled easily, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You know, we have a good offensive line. Like I said, he's got Leon back there and a couple other backs that run the ball hard for him. So he doesn't have to do too much in the passing game. But when he gets his opportunities, he definitely makes teams pay.
Talking to Wayne Hogwood, the head coach of the Wakefield Warriors. Big win for them tonight, 33-19 versus Marshall. You guys you're now 4-0 in the conference. You got a couple games to go in the season that, by all means, you guys should be highly favored in, and obviously 6 straight wins as well. You know, how have you guys been able to kind of get this thing going like you have since what was a little bit of a tough start?
We just kind of gelled after the second week and a couple losses, and the coaching staff has stayed on these guys, and they've done a good job of being resilient and accepting criticism and working to get better every week. As a coaching staff, we're kind of hard on them. We try to aim for perfection, so even when they do things well, we're still looking to take it to the next level, and they respond well to that because they're hungry and want to be successful. So as long as they keep sticking to that and we keep coaching hard, I think we'll be okay.
You talk about that slow start, and obviously part of that, you lose a player during the season, passed away, and obviously that's about one of the toughest things you can have as a coach to deal with that, losing a kid who's on your team and you like greatly. Can you talk about what it was like to kind of go through that situation, not only you as a coach, but also as a team together?
That's a difficult situation. I can't tell you how to handle it or what to do because that's something that, is out of the blue that no one's prepared for. What I think worked well for us was as a coaching organization and as a football team, we kind of became closer as a family type unit, and we're there for each other. We were there for the players as a coaching staff and there for each other, and they gelled a little bit more, and we were able to talk to them about, some things that are more important than football. And when you start to care about the guy that's beside you, you're willing to work a little bit harder when things are on the line to be productive with them. So we've gelled, which is great. Some teams have that type of tragedy and go in the tank. We were able to rally and turn it into something that we can be proud of.
And one last one for you, Coach. We'll get you out of here on this one. Obviously, you guys win a conference last year. You go into the playoffs. Does it help you guys to know what that's all about, to know what a playoff run is like, so maybe you can make a deeper one as you move through this year?
Oh, I definitely think so. And especially with the 5A football that's going around in Leesburg and other areas a little bit outside of Northern Virginia, we know after last year that all of those teams are serious football teams and they're ready to play. So just being 8-2 is not going to cut it. Whoever you draw in the playoffs is going to be a solid football team. And now that we've had a little experience playing, Potomac Falls and the number 1 seed Tuscarora last year, we know that any team out there can come beat us if we don't bring our A game and work hard. So I think that is one of the reasons why we're not happy with where we are right now, and we keep working.
Well, Coach Hogwood, make sure you enjoy this one tonight. It was a good one for you as you knock off Marshall 33-19. Wayne Hogwood, head coach of the Westfield Warriors. Congratulations, and thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it. That's Wayne Hogwood, head coach of the Wakefield Warriors. His team with a big win tonight as they knock off Marshall 33-19. Really, that one is important because the last two teams on their schedule, believe it's Lee and Stewart, who are having really tough years this year. So all things considered, they should go undefeated in conference play this year and really just and have another conference. And again, after the drought of Wakefield for so long, I believe that was the last year was their first playoff appearance since 1983. So obviously it's some good times down there under Coach Hogwood, who's doing some really good things. And as he kind of referred to, it will be some tough sledding as they move along through the playoffs with some of the really quality teams in 5A, in the Leesburg, in the Loudoun area, plus some others. But again, they'll be in it and they'll have their chance to go ahead and take their shot as they move along. Let's go ahead and run down the top 10 before we get to our first break of the game. Actually, run down the top 20 first break of the show. Number 1, Damascus, they rolled tonight as expected, beating Magruder 49-18 as the Swarming Hornets get themselves ready for that big showdown next week with Seneca Valley, their rivals and really their big competition maybe in the playoffs over there in 3A in Maryland. Elsewhere, number 2, Gonzaga. If you watch the prep zone here on DMVSTREAM.com, I said this could be a letdown game for the Eagles after the big win over DeMatha. No such luck, as Gonzaga, I believe, had 3 interceptions in a matchup as they knock off Good Counsel 32-13 at Good Counsel over in Olney. So the Eagles really playing very good football right now. Almost as we kind of talked about with Randy Trivers last week, they kind of faded late in the season. Looks like the Eagles are getting stronger as they go along. And obviously they've still got some big games coming up. They've got an upstart Carroll team who's playing some good football. They've got St. John's, who love nothing better than to pull an upset and maybe playing for their playoff lives as they move through. And of course, also they'll see DeMatha, maybe Good Counsel, both in the playoffs as they move on through. But obviously, Randy Trivers has to be happy. His team moves to 8-0 tonight as they get the win, again, forcing 3 interceptions in that contest as the Eagles look very good tonight, following up their win against DeMatha. Number 3, Lake Braddock, a big win tonight over West Springfield, 56-21. Number 4, South County over Annandale, 40-12. So those two look like they're going to be on a collision course, final game of this regular season, as the Bruins and the Stallions will face off for their conference title, more than likely, though I believe one of them still has a matchup on the slate against either West Springfield or West Potomac. Both those teams, some pretty good programs there, but it looks like those two, the class of Conference 7. Elsewhere, number 5, DeMatha, they're in action tomorrow against Carroll. Number 6, Ole Mill, got tested by Broadneck tonight, but they remain undefeated. Patriots beating the Bruins 38-22. Number 7, Wise, they're in action tomorrow at Bowie and a 2 p.m. start. Number 8, Westfield, with a bit of a slugfest tonight as they beat Centerville 20-12. Westfield actually led this one 17-0 in the first quarter, early in the first, really about halfway through, and then only put up a field goal the rest of the way as Centerville put some points up but could never get over the hump. And again, Centerville having a tough year, kind of a theme as we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but a really tough schedule for them for a few different reasons and maybe a down year for the Wildcats as well, but they fall to Westfield 20-12. Number 9, Tuscarora looked very good tonight. They beat Stonebridge 42-19 as the Tuscarora, their 19th straight regular season victory. Huskies taking it to the Bulldogs. Remember, Stonebridge, that impressive upset of Broad Run last week, not to be found this week as Tuscarora really got to the Bulldogs. Remember, Tusky will play Broad Run later in the season, actually the last game of the season, as that could be the chances for a three-way tie in Conference 14 out with the Loudon 5A squads. Number 10, Seneca Valley, as they prep for their matchup with Damascus, won tonight over Blake 49-7. Number 11, Quince Orchard, trying to solidify things in 4A West. They beat Bethesda Chevy Chase tonight 66-6. Number 12, St. John's takes on O'Connell. That's a 2 p.m. start tomorrow. Number 14, Howard, a winner over Longreach 46-12. A very important win for Howard tonight. We'll get into why that is as we move on in the show. Number 15, Paint Branch upset by number 18, Sherwood 42-21. Number 16, Broad Run, had a tough one tonight. I believe went into overtime, tied at 14. Kind of a sluggish game as they beat Oakton 28-21 in double overtime. Number 17, Duval, is at Suitland tomorrow in a 2 p.m. start. The Tigers trying to go ahead and get themselves back on track after at that loss to Wise as they lost their top-notch quarterback Antoine Brooks in that matchup. Elsewhere, number 19, North Point routed Great Mills tonight 35-0. It was Bullis over St. Albans tonight 50-12. That actually outside the top 20. So that's your look at the top 20 from the All-Met Sports. No upsets, actually one upset, I should say, in the top 20, though that a kind of a mild upset when it came to Sherwood knocking off the Paint Branch by that 42-21 count. And speaking of Sherwood, we will talk to their head coach, Chris Greer, coming up in the show. Actually going to do that in just a few minutes. Also, we will hear on the show from head coach of the John Champ Knights, Jason Dawson. His team a winner tonight over Heritage by a score of 21-14, and with, of course, the Knights winning over Woodgrove, their main competition in the Loudoun County Conference 21, they more than likely going to go ahead and win their conference as well and have an undefeated record, a champ team that went 0-10 just 4 seasons ago. So really have kind of got things going in the right direction. We'll hear from Jason Dawson about that. Also, we'll hear from Chris Greer, the head coach of Sherwood. That'll be coming up in just a bit. Stay tuned. We'll hear it all right here on The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com. Again, if you want to get in touch with us, go ahead and do it via Twitter at DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. More after this. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites. Delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone. As well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. Welcome back into The Final Drive. Jeremy Huber here with you as we run down all the action from around the DMV when it comes to high school football. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, do it via Twitter at DMVStream and hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, we will hear from, in just a few minutes, we'll hear from the head coach of the Sherwood Warriors, Chris Greer, his team with an impressive win over Paint Branch tonight. Coming up just a little bit later on in the show, we'll check in with the head coach of the Champ Knights, Jason Dawson, his team maybe kind of going a long way to a perfect regular season and a district championship with a win over Heritage High School of Leesburg tonight in what really could sure kind of was a key matchup in Conference 21 in the Northern Virginia, Loudoun County area. But we will hear from those coaches in just a little bit. Let's run down some more scores for you. Let's get outside of the top 20 and get into some private school scores. Bullis, a big win tonight, kind of getting back on track. They beat St. Albans 50-12. Crazy one that could have some implications when it comes to the DC State playoffs in the Class A, as Sidwell Friends came back from 24 points down in the fourth quarter to beat Murray 36-32. John Carroll, a winner tonight over St. Mary's of Annapolis 49-14. Spalding takes a second straight loss as they fall to McDonough 31-14. In DC, big one tonight as Ballou was knocked off. Blue had been unbeaten. Actually, did have one loss, I believe, in conference play. They fall, though, to H.D. Woodson 32-26. So that really could open some doors and kind of change some things around when it comes to the playoffs and the chase for the Turkey Bowl. Dunbar, winner in 4 overtimes tonight over Coolidge, 14-8. They went into overtime, tied at 8. So some good defense being played there between those two squads. Elsewhere, it was Eastern over McKinley, 28-14. Cardozo beat Phelps, 30-12. Bella went over Theodore Roosevelt 32-7. So Eastern and Bell probably continuing their collision course. They played the great one last week. Probably going to play another good one as we move through, maybe even in the Gravy Bowl. They will see each other again. Friendship Collegiate falls big to Gilman of Baltimore tonight. The Greyhounds, a Baltimore area power, and they showed it as they beat Friendship 41-0 up in Baltimore today. Over in Maryland action, it was Annapolis keeping their standing alive as they routed Chesapeake 30-0. Of course, Annapolis will have a big one coming up. The Panthers will be facing off against Old Mill in the season's last week. Could have a playoff spot on the line for Annapolis in that contest. Arundel, big win over Northeast tonight, 58-6. Glen Burnie beat North County 30-24. Meade over Severna Park, 19-14. South River over Southern, 20-9. It was Athelton over River Hill, 20-14. And according to reports, likely because of River Hill, another loss for them really killed their playoff hopes. River Hill, I believe, had a 12-year playoff streak going. That won't be happening this time as Athelton got the big win as they beat River Hill by a 20-14 count. So a big win for Athelton to go ahead and knock off River Hill in that matchup by the 20-14 score. Reservoir, nice win over Centennial tonight, 39-0. It was Oakland Mills over Hammond, 47-8. Thomas Stone, a big win over Calvert, 28-7. Patuxent beat Chopticon by a 28-18 count. Huntingtown over Leonardtown, 29-0. Westlake over La Plata 41-15. Lackey beat McDonough 13-0. St. Charles over Northern 12-6. Blair beat Kennedy 42-0 as Blair tries to keep themselves in contention for a playoff spot. Northwest big over Churchill tonight 56-6. Jaguars again trying to keep their selves into a contention for a playoff spot. Gaithersburg as well could have a big game next week as they take on Richard Montgomery. They beat Wooten tonight 27-25. That's a big one as Gaithersburg, again, if they could win out, likely would be in the playoffs. So big for them to kind of stay alive with that win over Wooten tonight. Wheaton over Northwood 20-14. It was Whitman over Walter Johnson 40-7. Poolsville beat Rockville 23-7. Springbrook over Einstein 30-11. Richard Montgomery knocked off Clarksburg 20-13. So probably putting Clarksburg out of playoff contention, but helping Richard Montgomery maybe solidify a number 2 seed behind Quince Orchard in 4A West as they are trying to hold off Northwest despite losing to the Jaguars in the season. Very good chance Richard Montgomery could finish above them. Elsewhere, it was Friendly over Largo 27-6 as the Patriots hand the Lions their first loss of the season. Watkins Mill fell to Tuscarora of Maryland 34-7. It was Urbana over Middletown 14-10. In Virginia, big win for Briarwoods tonight as they knocked off Chantilly 24-21. Briarwoods having a tough season. Again, really, they've had just a tough schedule, and it's really not giving them any room to breathe. They get the win tonight over Chantilly. Edgar Moreno with a field goal in overtime, then a defensive stand for the Falcons to knock off the Chargers in that one. Again, Briarwood still in playoff contention despite coming into the week with just 2 wins because of the tough schedule they play. They'll have a chance for a couple big wins down the stretch. We'll see what the Falcons can do. Madison trying to solidify their hopes for a Conference 6 title. They beat Fairfax tonight 44-0. So Lenny Schultz, Warhawks, keeping the good play up after a nice performance against South Lakes last week. They do it again. They, of course, facing off or looking at a big matchup against Hayfield in the seasons last week. Hayfield almost dropped one to Yorktown tonight, but the Hawks able to get the win 21-14. Yorktown was picked off on a 4th and goal from the 2-yard line to end the game. South Lakes, they keep their hopes alive for a division title despite their loss to Madison last week as they beat Langley in a shootout 48-21. South Lakes came back from 11 down in the 4th quarter to get the win. Big win for Forest Park as they try to stay up in the top part of the playoff race in the 6A South as they beat Freedom of Woodbridge 30-28, scoring the game-winning touchdown on the final play of the game. Washington Lee over McLean tonight, 28-0. The Generals with their 3rd straight win as they pushed for a playoff spot. George Mason in the 2A, one of the smaller schools despite being in Fairfax County. They beat Warren County tonight 56-42 as the Mustangs go for a playoff push. Colonial Forge over Woodbridge tonight 30-18. Elsewhere, Osborne Park broke a 17-game losing streak as they beat Stonewall Jackson 14-13. Elsewhere, Falls Church a win over Edison tonight 28-7. Elsewhere, it was that game we just talked about with Coach Wayne Hogwood of Wakefield, his squad with a 33-19 win over Marshall and puts Wakefield in the driver's seat with 2 very winnable games down the stretch in Conference 13. Kettle Run beat Brentsville 28-14. Brentsville dropping their 3rd straight after starting the season 5-0. Culpeper over Manassas Park 35-21. It was Woodgrove over Parkview 52-0. Champ over Heritage 21-14. Champ sniffing around the Washington Post top 20 poll. They moved to 8-0 on the season as they look like a good bet to go 10-0 and will win their conference more than likely after knocking off Woodgrove in the first week of the season. Real good timing there for Champ to go ahead and get the Wolverines then as they look like they're rolling as well. But Champ, 2nd straight, tough game, but they get the win over Heritage. Also, it was Loudoun Valley routing Loudoun County 42-7 tonight, and Freedom of South Riding, they get a win tonight as they knocked off Rockridge by a count of 28-21. Joined now by the head coach of the Sherwood Warriors, Chris Greer, his team with an impressive win tonight, knocking off Paint Branch 42-21. Coach Greer, congratulations on the big win.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Probably the kids and the program is a great team victory.
Most definitely. And in this contest, you guys ended up with a pretty good performance from your star players in this one. Travis Levy had around over 200 yards total offense in the contest. Marcus Sims had 2 touchdowns. Your quarterback, he had 5 touchdown passes. Talk about what those guys were able to do on the offensive end.
Well, it really started up front. I mean, our big guys kind of had a down week last week, and they worked really hard all week, watching film and in their practices. And, they were dominant up front. And when you're dominant up front, that kind of opens everything else up. They were really focused on Marcus Sims. They had a couple of guys on him. And, we had some other guys step up. Chris Willis, one of our other receivers, had a big touchdown in the first half when he was basically single covered. And, once that happened, we were able to kind of just pound the ball a little bit. And, Travis Levy is a warrior. Hats off to him. But, he battled through some things, playing both ways, a little banged up. And, he's got a lot of heart. So we knew we could count on him.
You talk about Levy. There were some reports he left the game limping a little bit. Is he okay after the matchup?
Yeah, he's fine. He's just got an ankle sprain, and it actually happened about the first quarter. And, he was battling through it. Normally he doesn't like to come out on defense either. He typically likes to play every play of the game, and he's a workhorse, and I wasn't worried at all. I knew he was going to get taped up, and, he's a warrior. I know he's got a lot of heart. We know we can count on him.
Of course, you being an old offensive lineman yourself, I'm sure you're pretty pleased to see your guys dominating up front, correct?
Absolutely. Like I said, we had kind of an off performance last week as an offensive line unit, and they worked really hard all week to make corrections and prepare for this game. And without seeing the film, it sure looks like they were pretty dominant up front. So we're definitely pleased. We rushed for, I believe, over 200 yards. We threw for, I believe, almost 300. So you got to be pretty happy with that. We protected the quarterback. We were able to run the ball. So, it always starts with the big guys. So.
Coach Greer, last year's matchup, you guys against Paint Branch, you end up coming back to take a lead late, then they get a late touchdown to go ahead and beat you. How satisfying after that was this win tonight for your team?
Well, I mean, it was no secret that we knew exactly when we were going to play them this year, pretty much as soon as the schedule came out and it was circled. And we all wanted the redemption. We definitely did. Week by week, it was kind of just counting down. And, it feels great. The guys were ready to play, and they came out firing, and I'm super proud of them and the way they responded. I mean, it does feel great. I'd be lying if I didn't say I had a lot of bad dreams about last year's game over the last year, almost to the day. But this will help ease those a little bit. It feels great.
Joined by Sherwood head coach Chris Greer, his team with a big 42-21 win over Paint Branch tonight. Coach, I got to ask you, obviously following along on Twitter, wasn't there, but they had cut the lead down to 28-14, and it appears that they tried a surprise onside kick. How were you guys ready for that as you end up recovering and maybe stemming some of their momentum?
Well, it really isn't a surprise. They onside kick every time. So that's something about Paint Branch, and we worked on it all week. We want to make sure we have all of our skill guys back, and they actually did end up getting one. I think they got 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5, but it was big for us. I mean, you take that chance to give us field position, and that really helped us. And they actually ended up getting one, and we got a turnover on the next play. I believe at the end of the third quarter, or actually it might have been the fourth quarter. So that was a huge play by our defense. They had just scored, and we kind of couldn't muster much on offense on the next drive, and they ended up scoring and getting an onside kick, and us, making a play on defense on the very next play of the next possession was huge. So, our defense is pretty stout. We got some pretty good players there, and we're kind of underrated in that aspect, but. They really got out after the quarterback tonight. We played really good coverage, and we think we kept them pretty off balance. So really proud of the defensive effort against a good offensive team.
One more before we get you out on this one, Coach. I think it's okay to start talking playoffs now, and obviously 4A North, you guys are in a loaded conference. The early season forfeit really kind of hurting you guys a little bit, as right now you'd be really in the thick of things after tonight's win, if not for that. But getting past that, do you feel that after that kind of came down, your kids realized the desperation of the situation to say, "Hey, we got to make sure we keep winning, because if we don't, we may not be in the playoffs"?
Well, it wasn't a secret. Our guys knew. Our guys knew that we had to win this game tonight. So that made it all the more important. It's a rivalry game, and after what happened last year, and dealing with the forfeit, and I'm a believer things happen for a reason, and maybe it just made us focus a little bit more, knowing we couldn't slip up. And I don't care what anybody says. We're undefeated on the field, and then unfortunately for that situation before, we had to deal with it. But in my mind now, we're kind of past that, and we're on to a new journey. It's almost like a new season for us now. So I'm really excited about that. It's huge. I know our guys it's a relief that we're not going to be home for the playoffs most likely. But, we got to get healthy in the next couple of weeks and focus on what we got to do to make a run.
Well, obviously, you're making a pretty good run this year, as you said, on the field. Chris Greer, your Sherwood Warriors, with a big win over Paint Branch tonight, 42-21. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Coach Greer's win tonight, his squad's victory, Sherwood beating Paint Branch, really doubling them up. A nice one. But the interesting thing tonight, as we look at the playoffs, we'll kind of glance at a few of these as we move throughout the show. But Sherwood's situation, it's a very interesting one. We referred to it in the interview that they're in 4A North. Coming into the night, it was Paint Branch was in the top spot, followed by Howard, then Mervo of the Baltimore area, Sherwood, then Bel Air, and Perry Hall. Really, those 6 teams were the ones kind of competing for playoff spots. The rest of the teams a little too far down, really, to realistically get into the playoff hunt. Now, with Paint Branch getting dropped tonight, they came in with a lead on Howard. Paint Branch at 10-29 on the season. Of course, they've also got the game against Quince Orchard coming up to end the season, so they'll have a chance for points there. Question is, will they be able to beat the Cougars, who are playing some very good football right now? Howard will have a few chances, but again, they're one of the bigger schools in their area, so they may not get a chance to really get enough to move up without Paint Branch losing. Mervo got beat tonight in an interesting way. They lose to Edmondson Westside, a 1A South school in Maryland, but Mervo falls 18-15. We believe that's the correct score. Maybe a typo, but we believe that one is the correct score. So if that is the case, them falling down could open some things up. It also, though, could maybe not solidify things, as I think Coach Greer was thinking his guys were just kind of chasing those 3 teams. Now with other teams, Bel Air and Perry Hall both won tonight, so kind of some churn down there at the bottom. Sherwood likely won't lose again. They don't really have a team that should be able to beat them, but on the flip side, unlike Paint Branch, they don't have an opportunity to move up and have a big chance for points. So again, Paint Branch, by losing tonight, maybe losing if they lose the season's last game against Quince Orchard, they open up the spot for Howard if they can go ahead and go to 10-0 to be the top spot in 4A North and have people come to Howard County. We'll see if that's how things go down, but a little bit of interesting shenanigans there tonight with Mervo falling to a team I don't think most people expected them to lose to, though they end up losing, and then Sherwood pulling the upset coming into the week as the 4 team in 4A North, knocking off Paint Branch, kind of jumbling things up just a little bit. And of course, still at this point, 2.5 weeks to go, as a lot of key teams play games on Saturday afternoon. So we'll see how it all kind of ends up coming out in the end, but it should be exciting, as it always is, as we make that last frantic push for playoff spots in the area high school football. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, do it via Twitter. Do it by tweeting at DMVStream, hashtagging it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. We'll be back with more coming up after this. Remember, we will hear later on in the show from the head coach of the John Champ Knights, Jason Dawson, his team with a big win tonight over Heritage of Leesburg as they move to 8-0 on the season. That's coming up, plus another look at the scoreboard and maybe a look at the playoffs surrounding Virginia and Maryland, maybe a little DC as well. Stay tuned for all of it. It's coming up right here on The Final Drive. Some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. Welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. I'm your host, Jeremy Huber. Coming up in just a bit, we will hear from the head coach of the John Champ Knights, Jason Dawson, talking about his team's win over Heritage tonight to move the Knights to 8-0 on the season and really put them in the driver's seat when it comes to the Conference 21 championship out in Loudoun County. But we're going to go ahead and run down all your scores once again. We have most of them in. If you don't hear a score that you think we should have, you can go ahead and tweet it to us again using Twitter, tweet at DMV Stream and hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMV Stream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. So let's go ahead and run things down right now. Number one, Damascus. They will stay number one this week as they beat Magruder 49-18. Of course, Damascus has their matchup with Seneca Valley coming up next week. Should be a barn burner in Montgomery County. Number two, Gonzaga, flexing their muscles after their win over DeMatha last week. No letdown for the Eagles. They moved to 8-0 as they beat Good Counsel 32-13. Lake Braddock, a winner over West Springfield 56-21. Number 4, South County, a 40-12 winner over Annandale. Those two teams will go ahead and meet 2 weeks from now. We'll see if they're both undefeated when they get there, but they probably should be. And at that point, the Conference 7 championship in Virginia should be on the line. Number 5, DeMatha at Carroll tomorrow in a 2 p.m. start. Number 6, Old Mill. They beat number 20 Broadneck 38-22. Number 7 Wise at Bowie tomorrow in a 2 p.m. start. Number 8 Westfield over Centerville 20-12. Bulldogs actually led that one 17-0 midway through the first and only put up a field goal rest of the way. Number 9 Tuscarora routs Stonebridge 42-19. Huskies have won 19 straight regular season games. Number 10, Seneca Valley over Blake, 49-7. Number 11, Quince Orchard, they keep their good play going as they routed Bethesda Chevy Chase 66-6. Number 12, St. John's they face O'Connell tomorrow in a 2 p.m. start in Arlington. Number 14, Howard, beat Long Reach tonight, 46-12. Number 18, Sherwood, upset number 15, Paint Branch, 42-21. Number 16, Broad Run over Oakton, 28-21 in double overtime. Number 17, Duval at Suitland tomorrow in a 2 p.m. start. Number 19, North Point over Great Mills, 35-0. It was Bullis over St. Albans, 50-12. Sidwell Friends comes back from a 24-point deficit in the fourth quarter to stun Murray, 36-32. John Carroll beat St. Mary's of Annapolis 49-14. McDonough over Spalding 31-14. It was H.D. Woodson knocking off Ballou 32-26 in overtime. Dunbar over Coolidge 14-8, and 4 overtimes. That one went into OT at 8-8. Eastern over McKinley, 28-14. Cardozo over Phelps, 30-12. It was Bell over Theodore Roosevelt, 32-7. Also, Gilman, a big winner over Friendship Collegiate tonight, 41-0. In Maryland, Annapolis beat Chesapeake, 30-0. It was Arundel over Northeast, 58-6. Glen Burnie edges North County 30-24. Meade over Severna Park, 19-14. South River over Southern, 20-9. It was Atherton over River Hill, 20-14. Reservoir blank Centennial, 39-0. Oakland Mills over Hammond, 47-8. Thomas Stone beat Calvert, 28-7. Patuxent over Chopticon, 28-18. Huntingtown over Leonardtown, 29-0. Westlake over La Plata, 41-15. Lackey beat McDonough, 13-0. It was St. Charles over Northern, 12-6. Blair beat Kennedy, 42-0. Northwest over Churchill, 56-6. Gaithersburg, a big win tonight over Wooten, 27-25 as they keep their playoff hopes alive. Wheaton over Northwood, 20-14. Whitman beat Walter Johnson, 40-7. Poolsville over Rockville, 23-7. It was Springbrook over Einstein, 30-11. Richard Montgomery over Clarksburg, 20-13. Friendly over Largo, 27-6, handing the Lions their first loss of the season. Tuscarora of Maryland beat Watkins Mill, 34-7. Urbana over Middletown, 14-10. Virginia scores. Briarwoods over Chantilly, 24-21. As Edgar Moreno with a field goal in overtime, then a defensive stand for the Falcons gives them the win. Madison, big win over Fairfax tonight, 44-0. It was Hayfield over Yorktown, 21-14, as Hayfield picked off Yorktown at the goal line to save the game on the last play. South Lakes over Langley, 48-42, as they rallied from 11 down in the fourth quarter. Forest Park scores on the final play of the game to beat Freedom of Woodbridge 30-28. Washington Lee over McLean 28-0 for their third straight win. It was George Mason over Warren County 56-42. Colonial Forge beat Woodbridge 30-18. Osborne edged by Patriot 38-35. Again, Patriot beats Osborne 38-35. Osborne Park breaks a 17-game losing streak as they knocked off Stonewall Jackson 14-13. Potomac Falls big over Stewart 56-21. W.T. Woodson routed Mount Vernon 49-0. Falls Church over Edison 28-7. Wakefield, a big win in Conference 13 as they beat Marshall 33-19. Kettle Run over Brentsville 28-14. Culpeper over Manassas Park 35-21. Clark County destroys Riverside 72-6. Woodgrove big over Parkview 52-0. Also Loudoun Valley over Loudoun County 42-7. Rockridge falls to Freedom of South Riding 28-21. And John Champ, they go to 8-0 on the season as they knock off Heritage 21-14. Good chance that Champ, with that win, will go ahead and finish undefeated number one, but also will go ahead and win Conference 21 out in Loudoun County. Had a chance to catch up with the head coach of the Knights a little bit earlier on in the night, Jason Dawson, talking about his team's big win over the Heritage Pride tonight. Coach, obviously tonight a hard-fought win over Heritage, a team that's a quality football team, but your guys get the win. How are you able to do it?
I'll just compete. You know what I mean? Compete 4 quarters, compete through adversity, compete when it's uncomfortable. And that's really what it comes down to.
Now, obviously, with you guys, your quarterback, Zach Burdick, again, having another great year, had another good one today, had 2 touchdown runs. The 3rd touchdown came on a perfectly timed option pitch. Talk about his performance tonight.
Hey, he's just a gutsy competitor, and he's willing to get better and learn, and that's what makes him the quarterback that the kids want to play for and play with. You know what I mean? And he's not perfect. None of us are perfect. We got a lot of room to grow, but the qualities that he has, that a competitor has, that's what kids want to follow, and that's why, we're one of the reasons why we're in a great situation right now.
And he was there when the program went through that 0-10 start. Is there a little bit added extra with him, the fact that he's seen this all and he's been there for all of it?
Well, him and a bunch of other kids. We got 21 seniors right now, and probably 17 of them there for the whole ride. So, his freshman year, he played, I think, 1 game on varsity, maybe 2. But yeah, he saw it. We dressed out our freshmen. We just didn't play him. But he went through he was there for the 0-10 season. He was there. He started at wide receiver his sophomore year when we were 2-8, and he's been our quarterback the last 2 seasons.
You talk about that 0-10 start to now maybe have a very good possibility of going 10-0. Obviously, 2 games left on the schedule, but how does it feel right now for you guys kind of taking stock and looking back to see how far you've come in this building of a program at Champ?
We don't look back. I told the kids we'll celebrate when it's December 13th at our banquet. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's day to day, week to week. Let's just keep grinding and get better. And people like you and the parents and fans can look back and think things, but we just can't afford to. We're not that good. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. We're not good enough to sit back and say, "Wow, this is awesome." We just got to keep our head down and keep grinding and keep competing.
Joined by Jason Dawson, head coach of the Champ Knights, moving to 8-0 tonight with a nice win over Heritage, 21-14. Coach, obviously you move on. You got 2 more games for a playoff start, and I know your guys looking forward and looking right at the grindstone. Does it help at all the fact you guys are competing for the number 1 seed in your region, the kids, to give them a little bit something else to say, hey, let's keep focused on playing our best football?
We want to finish in the top 4. You know what I mean? We don't care about the number 1 seed. We just want to finish in the top 4. Because in our region, they don't take 16; they only take 12. So the top 4 teams get a bye this year, and so that's our goal right now. We just compete, and whatever happens, happens. But being in the top 4 would allow us that opportunity to get a bye.
One last one.
It's something to me, but we don't talk about it.
One last one for you, Coach. I know you were on the Broad Run staff, and I remember a game when you guys played there. This when they had buys, that first round game. You guys came out a little flat against Liberty. I think it was a little bit closer than I thought. Is there any concern if you do get a buy, these being high school kids and creatures of habit, of how you're going to get these guys motivated if you do get a top 4 seed?
Well, that game was helpful for us, for me, for the coaches that were there, because you did learn from it. My kids that I coach now, they don't even know anything about that situation. And I try not to talk too much about it, but, it's something good from it. Yeah, we learned that, you have to make sure that you keep the kids competing so that when you don't have that long bye, and that bye was unique. That was after the end of the week, end of the season bye, and then a first round bye. We didn't play a game for 20 days that year. And then we played Liberty, who was a great program, and they came out and smacked them out and competed. So, but the longest we would beat off was 13 days. So that's a little bit different too, but did I learn from it? Yeah, what we would do is we would institute more competitions in that 2-week period to keep the kids focused on what do we do here. We just compete. And I think that, like you said, having that situation in the background really is helpful to me, especially as the head coach now.
Well, Coach, obviously they've been competing great all year long for you. Hope they'll continue to do it. Coach Jason Dawson of Champ, congratulations on the win tonight.
Thanks a lot, man.
Coach Dawson really getting some good things going with that program down in the Aldi area. Really have responded to him as he's built that program. Again, came from a great program, was a coach at Broad Run under Mike Burnett, who's now the coach at Tuscarora. And, of course, we see how good of a coach Mike Burnett is as Tuscarora doing some great things. Of course, John Champ doing some great things as well, as they are 8-0 on the season, have a very good chance to go to 10-0 and maybe even deeper with an undefeated run into the Virginia 4A playoffs. We're going to take one more break. We'll come back and take a look at tomorrow's schedule in the DMV. We'll also maybe take a look at some of the playoff positioning as we move through. That's all coming up after this, right here on The Final Drive. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rub ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's Special Baked Beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. And welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. Almost finished for the night. I want to thank all the folks who are listening from John Champ High School. We know that we saw a spike and we tweeted out that Coach Dawson would be joining the show, and a lot of the folks came through, so thank you much. But again, thanks to all the folks who listened to the show tonight. I want to quickly look at some of the PowerPoint standings. Of course, it's a little bit confusing, but as we come in, and these are all from as we came into the week, want to look at where some of the teams stood. Again, some things may have changed with wins tonight. I don't have the results from outside the area, but coming into the week in Virginia, your local teams of note, it was Hilton actually checked in as the number 9 team in 6A South. Remember, they go south when it comes to their playoffs. They end up playing against teams from down the Virginia Beach area. A couple spots back of them, Woodbridge, also then Forest Park was down near the bottom of the standings as well. So some room for them to go. In the 6A North, South County and Lake Braddock, your top 2 teams, followed by Westfield, then Madison at number 4, West Springfield at 5. Then it was Battlefield at 6. Followed by Robinson, South Lakes, West Potomac, also Hayfield, Chantilly, Oakton, and Centerville. So, again, teams fighting for there, but going to be a real battle at the top with South County and Lake Braddock. That game could be not only for the District 7 championship, but also for the top seed in 6A North. In 5A, no teams locally really in good playoff positioning in 5A South in Virginia, of course, 5A North. Tuscarora on top of things. Broad Run at number 4. Stonebridge at 6 coming in the week, though they'll probably drop a bit with their loss this week to Tuscarora. Potomac Falls actually in pretty good positioning as they checked in on the week at number 8, right in front of Wakefield. We'll see. Potomac Falls has some good chances. It may actually pull some upsets as, again, they really took Tuscarora to the wire earlier on in the season. We'll see what they're able to go ahead and do. Elsewhere, it was in 4A, as Coach Jason Dawson talked to him earlier, Champ sitting at number 2 coming into the week in 4A West. Woodgrove just in number 6, so they're also in good position. Heritage in number 7, though they'll probably drop after their loss today. Loudon Valley a little bit farther down the poll, I believe around 10th they sit. Then in no one really of note locally in 3A, and down in 2A, George Mason actually in pretty good competition right now in 2A East. as Mason currently sits, actually came into the week sitting in at number 9. So really would get them into the playoffs if they're able to keep winning like they have. Over in Maryland, a lot of teams, of course, in contention there. Quince Orchard on top of things in 4A West coming into the week, followed by Richard Montgomery Northwest and Gaithersburg. Also Blair at number 5. Clarksburg was at 6. So Blair won to kind of keep the pressure on Gaithersburg, really. Though Big Gaithersburg plays Richard Montgomery next week, that should be a very big one when it comes to playoff positioning and maybe even getting in for Gaithersburg if Blair may be able to nip them at the wire. 4A South, Wise on top, followed by Bowie, Suitland, and Duval with Roosevelt at 5, Bladensburg at 6. Roosevelt has a good chance to jump in. The rest of the teams really don't. They're no more than 2 wins for any of those squads. So really Roosevelt the only team that has a chance maybe to kind of catch someone at the end. Coming into the week, Paint Branch was number 1 in 4A North. Of course, they fell tonight. Howard did get a win. They were number 2. Mervo, they were 3. They did lose. Sherwood, number 4, of course, got the big win over Paint Branch tonight. Bel Air and Perry Hall both won. They were 5 and 6. North Point, number 1 in 4A East in Maryland. They won, as did Old Mill. Got a big win over Broadneck, so they may vault up a little bit, and they even overtake the Eagles as we move through. We'll see how the points stack up next week. Annapolis at number 4. So they right now pretty good sized lead on Arundel, and even they may be able to sustain a loss to Old Mill in the season's final game. Though if Annapolis gets that win, really could vault them up, maybe even have a home playoff game on their plate. 3A in Maryland, of course, right now, Damascus actually behind Linganore, as surprising as that is. Linganore really doesn't factor in anything that the Post does kind of out of their area. But Linganore coming into the week with a higher percentage than the point average than Damascus. That probably will change if the Swarming Hornets beat Seneca Valley next week. Though, of course, Fred Kim's bunch, they're undefeated also. They want to take their chance at a top spot. Elsewhere, 3A South, no one really of note there. Rockville and Watkins Mill actually have chances to get in, though. Going to be a kind of a lower region there, really a weaker 3A South this year. Wheaton also with a chance to get into the playoffs, current set at number 5 coming into the week. Elsewhere in 3A East, Reservoir, of course, having a pretty good season, some big upsets, and they'll only be improved by their win tonight. They were in first coming into the week, followed by Chesapeake of Anne Arundel County, then Glen Elg. Bennett Athelton came in at number 5. River Hill came in at 6, though, of course, Athelton beating River Hill tonight, so a big win for them, maybe to solidify a playoff spot for Athelton tonight. 2A locally, 2A West, Marriott's Ridge they came in as number 1. Oakland Mills 3 in 2A West. Elsewhere in 2A South, Largo was the top seed coming into the night, but they lose tonight again to Friendly. So Friendly should probably vault up. They came into the week at number 7 and really a stacked 2A South. Calvert was a spot behind Largo. They fell tonight. Westlake did get a win. They were 3. Patuxent also won. They were 4. Thomas Stone won. They were 5. Douglas of PG County actually checked in at number 6 coming into the week. So again, they have some work to do. Friendly got the big win tonight over Largo. Gwynn Park, they were down in 8th. So again, a lot of teams competing, and we'll see how that all kind of shakes out. A real rush to the finish there. Elsewhere, any other notables? I don't see any in front of me, so I think it's pretty much what we've got in front of us. Those are the teams kind of you're going to see kind of competing for spots. Actually, in 1A North, I have some few teams competing as well. Forestville came into the week 2nd. Fairmont Heights 3rd, and Surrattsville came into the week at number 4 in 1A North. So that's going to do it for our look at the playoffs. Real quick, want to go ahead and run down the schedule as well for tomorrow. A lot of games. If you want to get out and catch one, be a good day to do it. Boys Latin, they're at John Paul the Great in a 1 p.m. start. Also 1 p.m. starts a big one as Glen Elg hosts Marriott's Ridge. Marriott's Ridge trying to hold on to that top spot while Glen Elg trying to shoot their way up the playoffs. Robinson goes to Herndon tomorrow in a 1 o'clock start. West Potomac at T.C. Williams also at 1 o'clock. 1:30 Potomac School hosting St. John's Catholic Prep. St. Stephen St. Agnes goes to Georgetown Prep at 1:30. 2 o'clock starts for the rest of these games. A few real big ones on there. C.H. Flowers travels to Northwestern. Number 5, DeMatha at Carroll. Potomac of Maryland hosting Douglas, and what could be a big game for both those teams. Number 17, Duval at Suitland, as Duval tries to hold on to their playoff positioning. Eleanor Roosevelt at Oxon Hill. Landon hosting Episcopal. Fairmont Heights at Crossland. Surrattsville hosts Forestville. Gwynn Park at Central. High Point at Parkdale. Bladensburg hosts Laurel. Mount Hebron goes to Wild Lake. National Collegiate at Nativity, while O'Connell is at number 12, St. John's. St. Mary's Riken, they will go to McNamara. Bowie, they will be hosting number 7, Wise. 3 o'clock start tomorrow for Flint Hill, as they will go to St. James, and 7 o'clock start tomorrow night for Cesar Chavez, as they will take on the Maryland School of the Deaf. Actually, I think that one was played tonight. That's a little bit of a misprint. We don't have a final on that one in, though I think Maryland School of the Deaf was winning that one pretty big earlier on in the night. So that's going to wrap it up for us on the show tonight. I want to thank all of our guests, all 3 of them. It was a big night for us tonight as we were able to check in with Wakefield head coach Wayne Hogwood, and talk to him about his team's big win over Marshall tonight. Also on the show, we were able to check in with the head coach of the the champ Knights, I should say, who beat the Heritage Pride. That'd be Jason Dawson, his team looking at a 10-0 start possibly after going to 8-0 tonight. A big win for his squad. Also able to hear from the head coach of the Sherwood Warriors, Chris Greer, his team with an impressive win tonight over Paint Branch by a score of 42-21 as Paint Branch falls to Sherwood. Sherwood really needing that win after that forfeit early in the season to kind of solidify things. Good chance Sherwood, if they win out, will be in the playoffs. And as Coach Greer said, hey, we haven't lost one on the field as of yet. Got a lot of confidence in his team. We'll see what they're able to go ahead and do throughout the rest of the season and maybe into the playoffs. Again, you can hear a replay of this one immediately after the show ends, as you'll see it up on DMVSTREAM.com. Also follow us on Twitter. We'll tell you exactly where it is. And on the blog page, it'll be the easiest way to find it. My personal blog, so you can see that. Again, the final drive, you'll be able to find it there. Again, you want to tweet at us, let us know what you think about the show. Do it at DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMV Stream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. We're coming down the stretch and only a few weeks left of the regular season, so make them count. I'm Jeremy Huber, and this has been the Final Drive.